Or if I do it really badly, so I click and then... Hi guys, Josh here for another video, and this is just a quick one. I'm just going to go through a couple of script writing techniques. I see a data, see a job is what it made me. Script writing definitely isn't something I'm the most strong as a filmmaker. In fact, in the future I'd like to sort of find some screenwriters to work with and direct their scripts rather than just being a writer-director. But there are some things that I always keep in mind when I am working on scripts. So the other thing I just want to say is that these aren't my own things I've thought of. These are things I've either found out through podcasts or YouTube videos. So the first one is when you're writing a script and you're putting sort of, one of the first things you'll do is the location. And generally the location in this scenario might not be the most important thing. What might be the most important thing is what the characters are saying to each other. And you see this a lot in a lot of sort of low-budget amateur films where the characters are just like walking down the street, or they're just in a car, or they're walking through the woods for no apparent reason, but because what they're saying is important rather than where they are. So that's a good opportunity to actually be really creative with the location and play it into that script. Just think about like, okay, what's a completely like unique location I could use for the scene? If it's just two characters meeting for the first time, don't just have them sort of meeting in a cafe. You know, what if they met in like a multi-story car park or a sort of a construction yard or something that's a little bit different? It doesn't necessarily have to be a main point in a story, but think of a creative way to do this. And the other thing is sort of putting those fillers in. A lot of people want their dialogue to feel natural, and they don't want it to feel too Hollywood. They want it to feel like the characters are saying it for the first time. So they'll put words at the end or in the middle of the sentence to sort of bring out the dialogue a little bit more. So for example, if the line was, well, maybe you shouldn't be living here, then put stuff like well, or well, I think at the beginning, and that kind of stuff. Just take those out and just have the line as maybe you shouldn't be living here, or you shouldn't be living here. If you can get the actor to perform that right, it's actually a stronger line.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
So as I said, these aren't my techniques, they're things I've picked up. But there's two things I recommend for screenwriting, two particular favorites of mine anyway. There's so many books out there written about screenwriting, like Save the Cat or Save the Last Cat, and Into the Woods, which are really good ones. But one I particularly like is William Goldman, who is an amazing screenwriter in Hollywood, is Adventures in the Screen Trade. It's as well as showing some processes he uses, it's also very anecdotal, so it's quite interesting to find about the industry that way. And the other is a podcast called Script Notes, which is by two Hollywood screenwriters, and sort of every podcast they'll have a different screenwriter as a guest on there as well. So I hope these are useful. If you've got any other sort of techniques that are similar, I'd love to hear them. And I'll see you next time. See ya.
The dangling carrot it hang from the rear view. Your dreams in the past ain't nowhere near you. Backseat drivers got nothing but 2 cents. Shotgun riders too biased, they all liars. I should get an A for